Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 5th episode of the Talent Trials podcast. If it is indeed still named that, I'm your host, Paul Drake Verge, aka Pavlodar, the Ukrainian superstar. And today we're going to be diving into a very special friend and guest of mine by the name of Ali Afnan. So this is the podcast where we delve into the multifaceted world of entrepreneurship. Today, we're thrilled to have Ali Afnan with us, a dynamic personality known for his engaging content on TikTok under the handle of Ali.Afnan. As the co-founder of Lucky Lad, Ali has mastered the art of brand building, blending innovating marketing strategies with a keen understanding of digital landscapes. His journey, scaling from organic sales to forging robust 3PL partnerships, is a testament to his entrepreneurial spirit. Ali's insight on the emotional, spiritual, and physical aspects of entrepreneurship promise to enlighten and inspire our listeners. Let's dive into the enriching conversation with my good friend, Ali Afnan. Ali, good to see you on here, man.
Good to see you, brother. Hell of a ChatGPT intro.
That's, by the way, that ChatGPT wrote that entire intro. Maybe we'll cut that out. I want to give all my secrets away for free.
How do you think it's doing it? Is it just like indexing all my videos and just using my voice?
So at first I said, hey, look up Ali Afnan, but there's a million Ali Afnans. So I said, look up Ali Afnan from Lucky Lad, and then it uses Bing to search and does it. And then after that, okay, it's got the right one. I'll say, hey, write me a podcast intro. This is the name of the podcast.
Yeah.
It'll write it down. And then some of the questions I came up with, some I helped, but it's just like a lot of people are like, hey, I don't want to do the research for the content. I'm like, I don't know. It's easy. It's not that bad. And they wrote it. I think it's better than what I could have wrote, right?
Totally. Yeah. You couldn't have done that.
I couldn't have done that. I'm a fucking loser. And I'm kidding. Ali, brother, where did we meet? How far back did we go?
I have like a pretty funny story. It's probably not like podcast friendly, but we met. Okay.
You can say it, then we can cut it if anything, or we can.
All right. All right, so we met at Western. I was in second year and I was joining Zeta Psi, so the frat that we inevitably we're both in together. So I have a hilarious first time meeting you story, and then I'll tell another one that maybe you don't have to cut. But it was me and my roommate Steph. Obviously, you know Steph. We went to a Rush event at Zate, and dude, I walked in. This was when you were like Paul Verge, Ponytail Paul. And I don't know if you lived in the house at the time or what.
No, Ponytail Paul. Was that my nickname at the time?
No, well, then for me.
But that's good. That's good. I like that. Yeah.
Ponytail Paul. And you were kind of standing by some steps, and Steph and I had never been at that party before, or to that house at all. So we went there. You were one of the first few guys. You're standing right by those disgusting sticky stairs in the house. And we were just hey, what's up? You're like, hey, Paul, whatever. You're chatting with us. And we're like, oh, this guy's really nice. And then you cut the conversation short. And you're just... and they're like, oh, okay. And then you just probably went...
Probably exactly what happened. That's a lot of conversations have gone exactly that way.
Yeah, but then, okay. And then, so that's the first time I met you. And then we were in that insane organization for a few years together and had a bunch of nuts party experiences. But what did we try to do? We had some
we tried serial media.
Yeah. What was that supposed to be?
So we were trying because so why am I clipping? So I myself was in marketing. Wait, let me just adjust myself. So my brother was in marketing, obviously push media. And I remember me and you, we bonded over, we wanted to start something because you were working at Lux at the time. You were the doorman at Lux, I think. And we wanted to start something. And then I said, hey, my brother does this. He could help us out. And then you wanted to go into media yourself.
Yeah.
You already came up with a name. And then we got together. We I think we went as far as a logo. We did serial media. But then I don't remember what happened after.
I remember. So we just didn't understand. So yeah, serial media is what we landed on. And then spent hours just making some tasteless logo on Canva or something. Yeah. And then first thing you should have done, Googled it. I remember I Googled serial media and it was a top 10 podcast already. So like that abruptly changed our name, but I don't even remember like what it was supposed to be or like what we were gonna do. But yeah, we both just were into just probably like this Gary V wormhole or whatever, and then we were just like, okay, we got to do some like media company. We got to like get content.
We had to get it was a social. I remember it was a social media marketing company. We were gonna go and do social media,
right?
But like, and I've started things in the university too with Safe. I don't know if you met Safe Almola, but it never quite worked because. I think that starting a business requires emotional maturity, and it's impossible to have emotional maturity when every 3 days you're drowning yourself with booze and not even to experience any emotions as it is.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, like, I couldn't even, like, I wasn't even, like, going to class. I wasn't, like, there was, like, pretty basic responsibilities that I wasn't tending to. Like, I don't know in what world I thought that I could support a business at that time. But, yeah, totally no emotional maturity. Just like drinking 4 or 5 times a day. I also had such a I don't know about
day.
A week. Sorry, I had such a low standard for work ethic. I always laugh about it with Steph, who's my roommate at the time. Where I remember I used to day in the life used to be like wake up middle of the day, just like alarm. You're just like panicking. You just wake up sweating. Check your Instagram story, delete everything, and then get back up, and you're like, okay. What am I going to do today? Conference. You meet all your roommates in the main area. And it's probably like an hour and a half debrief of what happened the night before.
Yes. Yeah. Every time. Yeah.
And then, okay, you're done debriefing. Let me get some Uber Eats going. You got some food on the way. Maybe some chicken tenders. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of go to the mall and like go to the LCBO, pick up booze for the next night. And like we did that in a continuous loop for like probably days. And then but like anyways, I was getting at like somewhere in there, I would maybe put up like an hour and a half of work, like maybe like flick through some pages, like write down some notes, and I would be like, I've grinded today, like I'm absolutely out here putting in work, like I'm a winner, like hustle mentality, and like just such a low standard.
You know, the thing is, like I don't remember doing lots of work. I remember always finding the way around.
Yeah,
I would find a way, like, I don't know if I can, probably shouldn't say that, but I always found a way to get the test done. I always found a way so here's the thing. I have incredible control of my body because I've been meditating for millions of years. So I have such control of my body that on command, I can become sick. On command. So on command, when exams came, I would fall sick, and I had the note, and every single time. And it was always gastroenteritis. So I don't know why I've been... Western, your system's terrible, and that.
I feel like you might it's not anything to do with meditation. You just have a gastro issue.
No, I don't know if I might do this or might this not, but there was a time where I wasn't as advanced, and I did eat a cigarette to try to get sick. Did not work. So I think I'm just. I think I'm
addicted to cigarettes.
I think I'm invincible because I ate a cigarette and nothing happened. You know what I mean? So,
wow.
So that's the thing for me.
Our business went nowhere. So
business went absolutely nowhere.
Well, it was like I think we were doing a lot of just like nonsense busy work. Yeah. Where we would like meet up and
get the logo.
Like, dude, nothing can happen unless we get this logo down.
Yeah.
It's like, okay,
the
logo's down. Like we got to change the name now.
The website has to happen.
Yeah. Let's regroup in 3 weeks. So it just take us like ages to get anything done.
Yeah. And then, but I also think that like, now that I look back at it, I think, first of all, very grateful for fraternity, very grateful to have fun there. But it definitely set back my development as like a human being like 4 years straight.
Yeah.
Because, okay, that's not entirely true because I did learn how to, like be in leadership positions. We were both in leadership positions. But I think like the culture, if the culture was like slightly different, more towards entrepreneurship, we'd probably be like 5-10 years ahead right now.
Yeah, it's like super hard to say because like part of me thinks that I was just so, like you said, emotionally immature that it just didn't matter what I was doing in those 4 years. I was just going to waste it.
Yeah.
So like, whatever this fraternity thing where I had fun, whatever leadership position, whatever, like however you want to label it, like there was that, or I could have just not done that and I would have done the same stuff with other guys.
That's so true.
So like, I don't know. I just like try not to like, I just like came out of it and it still took me a year to kind of like acclimate into normal life. But yeah, I think like my takeaway of like our university experiences was it took me, I feel like, a lot longer than the average person to mature. So I was like, I probably could have benefited from going to university like 4 years later.
I had the same mistake. I always thought that like I went too early because I told my parents, "Hey, I want to take a year off," but they kind of pushed me into it. And I'm not going to blame them. Like ultimately, it was my decision, but definitely I wish I went like a year later. But now knowing what I know, I wish I didn't go at all. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't have gone at all. But even now, it's like I just like you learn about yourself. There's things you're like genuinely inclined towards, and I'm just like I actually have like a natural curiosity to study this thing. It's maybe not like what I'm making money doing, but it's like I'm intellectually curious about like much different things I was studying in university. I'm just like, I wish I just took like a little bit more time to figure out what I was going to do. Just like never went to class, never did anything.
Yeah. You never went to class. Yeah. I remember here's a paradox to university life. The closer the class is to where you live, the least likely you are to go.
Wow.
For me anyway, because I remember in first year, I could just walk downstairs from there, didn't go. But as soon as the class was far away, I went. So it's like the fact that I had to get up and actually go and do that kind of stuff. But let's talk about a little bit about what do you think? Do you think in terms of what you're doing now with Lucky Lad, which we'll get into, and with the content, which we're gonna get into too? Do you think that the university experience helped you in any sort of way, or is there anything you learned? Are you actually using it?
Yeah. So I think like if I were to really think back as to like, maybe some things in university or life before that led me here, I was always kind of inclined towards just like creative stuff. And it sounds really dumb to say, but like I remember I would like design these party posters for like our frat when we do parties for like, it was just like those Facebook banners and stuff.
I remember that. Yeah.
And it was early stuff like that. There was little things like that in high school. I used to do like making movie posters and stuff like that. I was kind of just like was inclined towards like creative stuff. I was like drop shipping on the side in university the whole time, always making no money.
Who made money drop shipping? I don't understand. Everyone who made money is the people telling you they made money to sell you the dream.
To sell you courses in drop shipping.
What was your product? Because I had one too.
So I did a few different things. So when I was in high school, I had a store called Nocturnal Toronto.
Okay.
And that was where I was just like print on demand t-shirts and hoodies and stuff.
Yeah.
Made no money doing it. Lost money probably like running ads. And then I was like, okay, shut this store down. I remember I got a sick URL for some reason. I got like nocturnal.com or something.
That's dope.
I was like a nuts. I should have just held on to that. But
I'm trying to sell RBV, by the way. I don't know if I told you, 2K.
You have rbv.com?
Yeah.
You have that?
Yeah.
I'll buy that.
Really?
Just like name whatever, or Royal, whatever. I'll make something out of it.
Yeah. We'll talk.
So yeah, anyways, there was that. And then what else I do? Oh yeah, and then I was in uni and I did a home decor. Oh yeah, I was actually pretty early on this wave, but I started a home decor store for remote workers. And this was like pre-pandemic, pre-anything. But I would like those like laptop stands and ring light, like all this stuff for remote workers. I don't know how I found this niche, but it was like I probably started that business 5 years too early. Yeah. If I just had that same store like 5 years later, probably would have been.
You probably would have.
Yeah. But anyway, I didn't know what I was doing. I was really, I was like really good at making Shopify stores. Mm-hmm. I would watch YouTube tutorials all day, like how to customize banners. Like without knowing it, I was like coding in Shopify. I was like, like learning how to like edit fonts and stuff and like custom make my own templates. And I should have like dug a little bit deeper on that, but I just like thought it was like a pretty like, everyone knew how to do that.
Yep.
But I was really good at making Shopify stores. And then this was when I was in fourth year of university. I just found some random guy on Instagram who was in Vancouver who was also doing dropship stuff. Mm-hmm. And he was a Facebook ads guy. So he was pretty good at Facebook ads. And I had my store already where I was selling home decor stuff.
Which is a good niche.
Yeah. It was just like super heavy. So it was expensive to ship.
Yeah.
But dude, we got a really good rhythm of stuff where we started. It was actually like, now that I think about it, a crazy like forward thinking store. It was a home decor, and we'd also sell accessories for influencers. So these like phone cases with like the ring lights around them and stuff.
Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah. That was before like even influencer, like
kind of
before, just right at the precipice.
Pre TikTok. Yeah. And dude, so like he was pretty good at running Facebook ads. I was really good at making these stores and these like landing pages and stuff like that. And then we just got screwed because we were sourcing all this stuff from China.
Yeah.
And just like one day randomly, this lady who we were going through, who was an agent, so she was just like some agent who spoke English, who worked with these dropshippers to like source products for us. She just one day like jacked the prices up on us, and we're like, oh shit, like we can't make money doing that. We were making like $1,000 a month like on the store, but we were like in university, you're fired up about like 500 each is like nuts. So anyway, she jacked up the prices, wasn't profitable anymore. So we were just like, all right, let's just like shut this down and like think of something else. And we just never started something else.
But it's interesting how like me and you. So here's the thing. Do you think entrepreneurs always have this kind of in them? Because like me and you were always like, I also failed when I was doing, I did like Udalin was safe. Something says I failed. I also did a drop-in show. It's called Atmostick. I was selling like these little like sticks that you put in your car. Did one ad on Instagram from this other page because that's all I knew about ads. Nothing happened. Quit immediately, which is probably the stupidest thing to do. But yeah, like so it seems to me like me and you were both kind of always on this path one way or another. Like obviously it didn't work out, but we just kind of, our mind was always in this direction. And so I think that what's most important about entrepreneurship is like, if you're on the path and you're failing, it's fine. It'll work eventually. But a lot of people like their first goal is that nice job, is that 9 to 5. And then I don't know about you, but like fuck that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean like I think I was like pretty self-aware early on that I needed to find like pretty untraditional ways to make money. At least in university, I guess like one thing I knew is that I just always had a problem with authority for as long as I can remember. I always had trouble in school. So I was like, I just can't show up here. I can't like listen to these people. I just like, I know this is all bullshit and I'm just never going to like retain any of this. And the same thing in university. I was just having such a hard time bringing myself to class. I'm like, I knew I'm not going to do this stuff. And then at that point, like I feel like we were both in the same like echo chamber of business content, whether it's like Gary Vee or whoever else.
He was exploding at the time.
Yeah. And dude, you're just like finding all these like younger guys making insane amounts of money at young ages. So I'm like, let me just figure that out. And yeah, I don't know, like the same thing. I was never really like attracted to this traditional linear path where it's like high school and then everyone goes to the same 3 or 4 universities and then everyone works at a bank or like a consulting company and then you all live in these same apartments that look exactly the same. All that just felt super gross to me. But yeah, I totally agree. I feel like most guys you find just like around you who you're meeting who are entrepreneurs today, they were doing like some sleazy stuff.
Yeah.
Early.
Yeah. Exactly. I remember I was going door to door selling freaking like, puzzles that I was done with, like shoveling snow, all this kind of crap.
Pre-made puzzles.
I do it for you. Yeah. And then I don't know what you did in the summers of university, but I just went tree planting randomly. Everyone did like other jobs. I just went plant trees and bugs for the rest of the year. And that's when I came back spirit Ponytail Paul.
I remember your tree planting days. Dude, what did I would have jobs. Like I would have summer jobs. Like one year I had kind of like a retail. I was like in like working some like retail job. One year I had like a government job that I got through like a family friend doing like some marketing stuff. And I was like in Ottawa for summer. But yeah, dude, it was even like jobs. Like it like really like set in for me where I was like, okay, maybe I can't apply myself in school. But when I'm like getting paid to do something and I'm making money and I have a job, then I'll be able to like really apply myself and work hard and like ladder up.
Yeah.
But then I was like early signs. I was even like working in these companies and like this government or I'm like, even in these like really nice work environments, like I can't do it. 100%. I just can't do it. You can't even literally pay me to do it.
Yeah. I had the exact same thing. So would love to know that. Okay, so you're done university and you've had some very cool things that I really respect. Like you just went to LA and all this kind of stuff. So let's say, so it's the end of its 4th year, university's over. What were you doing right after that? Because I remember I think you moved to LA right after, which is like super cool.
Yeah. So basically, like right as I was wrapping up university, I was working at, like you said, Lux. So like this building that I lived in at the time, it was the most random thing ever. That was like just while I was in school, I just wanted to make money. And I was like working at the front desk of this apartment building I lived in. It was a really nice building in London where we went to school. And eventually the guy who worked there, or like my manager at the time, he was like, oh yeah, dude, if you want to, like learn sales or like get good at sales, you can help me with like touring the building. So when families come around to check out campus, you can help me tour these different units and stuff like that. So I was doing that for a little bit. And then that turned into, he was like, yeah, you're pretty good at this. Do you want to help like sign people up on leases? And I can pay you by commission so you can make some more money. So then I started doing that. And then this was like right as I was finishing school. This guy who was my manager at the time, he like left. He got another job and he left that property management company.
Yep.
So then they were like, oh yeah, like I was the only one who was working for him and like signing leases and like was the only one who knew how to do all this stuff in the building at the time. So like they're like, I guess you're like the building manager now. I was like, oh, okay. I was like 20, like whatever.
Yeah,
and I was like, I lived in the building still. I was like partying there every weekend.
Yeah.
It was the funniest stuff. It was the funniest thing ever. Like people would like like on my floor, like I'd be having parties and stuff. People would noise complain and my phone would ring. Imagine how powerless you feel. Like you're trying to like knock on a door, shut down the party, and my Spotify pauses because it's my phone ringing.
Oh my! So they're calling him. Then they hear
they
the
just
music
call the
stop.
building line like to complain about noise, and the music stops.
And they hear
phone.
Immediately. Oh
I'm
my
like,
god!
Like, shut up!
That's so funny.
Anyways, so there was that. So I was doing that. And like, I guess without knowing it, you know, you're like talking to people constantly, signing leases, and like, you know, you're getting pretty good at sales.
Yeah.
And then what I learned there was that like, all right, maybe I went through 4 years of just developing no hard skills and nothing quantitative. And like all my friends are trying to get CPAs and like are becoming accountants. Like I can't do any of that, but there's this qualitative thing that I have. Like I can communicate. Like, let me try to see what I can figure out with that. So after that, I remember I had a friend who worked at this software sales company. This was still in Toronto. And it was basically this small startup in Toronto that was selling software to car dealerships, like in the automotive industry. And this was like right when COVID started. I was still at London at the time, and I was like, I'll just live here. I'll live remotely. It's still cheap for me to live here. I had some roommates at the time. I'll do this remote work job. I did that for like 6-7 months, and it was like pretty hardcore, like boiler room type sales where like, you know, now people are getting into sales now. They're like doing email flows and like DMing people and stuff.
Yeah.
I was just kind of like this automated screen on your laptop, like dialing you constantly, and you're calling like 50 to 100 people per day.
Oh, and yeah, you know what? Now that you think about this, we did have very similar trajectories, because now that I think about it, you were talking on the phone to people, you were getting the sales. And what I didn't realize, which I'm just realizing now. So I remember around third year, Red Dead Redemption 2 came out.
Hell yeah.
And after what I just showed you, you know.
Oh yeah,
bro,
I know.
You know.
Yeah.
So I'm like, shit, I have to find a way to get like a TV, a PS4 to play this game. And I was like, shit, what do I do? So I found a job at the call center at Western.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I'm calling parents and people and basically getting to donate. And I ended up being pretty good at that too.
Do you remember how you were soliciting donations? Like what were you saying?
Oh yeah, I remember. So I'd call parents. I was like, hi, my name is Paul Verge. I'm the representative over at Western University. Are you so-and-so's mom? They're like, yeah. I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. I know them from this class. Really sweet child. Then I just like, you know, kind of like work them up. Hey, what do you do? What are they taking? That's amazing. And then so I tell them, okay, what are they taking? Right? Like, okay, they're taking, biomedical engineering, and I'm like, oh, that's really good. So actually I have something to talk to you about that. So there's a lot of funding that's required for these biomedical engineering buildings, and one of the top ways we get funding is through supporting and loving parents like you. So I understand you really love your son, which I understand too. So how about a donation of say $100 to support your son's education, right? So I'm like tying back what they're saying into the son.
Yeah,
and
you're putting words in their mouth.
Oh, I'm putting words in their mouth, buddy. I was good at it. I was good at it. So I was going that way. And then some people wouldn't want, so you'd always have to find like, what are you connecting with them? Cause I understand this, and maybe you understand this. This is the logical explanation. You cannot communicate with someone who's not on your frequency. Yeah. And what I mean by frequency, they're not on your same energy level, which means they're not in your same emotion. Like if I'm happy and you're sad, whatever I tell you, you're not gonna give a fuck, because I don't understand what you're feeling. But if I make myself sad, understand, and I portray the message, then we're on the same channel. So I always try to like match what they're doing, and then I can direct it in any way I want. Is this kind of what you're saying?
Totally,
what you were doing?
Yeah. Like one of like the best things I heard about sales is just a transference of excitement. It's like you like if you have zero conviction about what you're selling or what you're doing or like what you're trying to elicit money for, it's like they'll never buy into that. Like you got to be super fired up and excited, and you just got to like find a way to, like you said, bring them to your frequency, which is excited, and then yeah, it just works out.
See, I would say it is a transfer of excitement, but I also think it's like the less importance you give it, the more it's going to do. Like when I'm on calls with McKay, by the way, I just got off of 4 or 5 onboarding calls, which is true. I'm onboarding new clients all the time. Fantastic. So how can I help you? What's going on with you? Like very nonchalant, casual, want it or don't want it, Yeah. So it's interesting that like the more you want something, the more importance you place on wanting something, the less you'll get it.
Yeah. Whoever cares less has the most leverage.
That, and I was actually talking about this in the podcast earlier with Parnian, but there's this thing called, have I told you about the book Reality Transurfing?
Maybe.
So basically what they're saying is like everything in the world strives for balance, right? So, that's why like there's wind, because it balances the temperature, water, the rest of the lower level. So what they're saying is like basically everything's energy. We're energetic beings. So once you place like excess importance on an outcome, you're creating dishomogeneity, like disbalance within like your energy field per se. So just as the balancing forces take the equilibrium of like by wind to take over the heat, there's something that must happen to like destroy your importance of it. So let me give you an example. So if you think, and let me tell you if this has happened to you, because this happened to me. Sometimes I'm like, yo, I'm the fucking shit. Like I'm the shit. And it's a gross overestimation of my ability. But then randomly something will happen where like I'm taken down a few pegs. Or sometimes if I'm like, if I'm feeling terrible, something will happen to increase it back to my real level. Do you have any experience like this?
Yeah, totally. Usually like the former, when I'm like feeling too hot, feeling too good about myself, like something will kind of recalibrate. But yeah, 100%. I think like you just like kind of need to be at this like steady frequency.
Yes.
And like you ebb and flow throughout like the day or throughout weeks, and then just like life just pulls you up or down for sure.
And it's like if you put, and it's different in terms of importance. If you put importance, but you're like, you really need it. The way I heard it described is on an energetic level, this is what's happening. It's like, imagine you're at a wedding, and at that wedding, you really don't want to get kicked out, but you're yelling, I hope I don't fucking get kicked out. I don't want to get kicked out. I want to stay here. What's going to happen? You're going to get kicked out. You're going to get it sorted out. So apparently when you're placed so much importance on something, that's what you're kind of doing. And it's interesting how there's like so many unseen forces that actually have effects in your life. So I think part of entrepreneurship is like on a subconscious level, not being said this way, is learning to like deal with like all these forces of your mind, of your will, of your emotions, right?
Totally. Yeah. You like learn how to read people super quickly. Like you learn intonation, you just like learn how to communicate, which is just like the craziest skill. But yeah, it's like, I feel like most people who are like probably pretty good at sales have really good EQ. For sure.
When are you born? When's your birthday?
November 1997.
November. I was gonna say because I'm in July. I'm a Cancer, so that's my excuse. Oh, I'm a Cancer. That's why I'm emotional. So I can feel people saying.
Girls ask your birth chart.
I'm into it. I have to be. So tell me about like your sales process. What did you learn about sales as you're going through it? What kind of, if you could put into words, because I know you probably do a little more naturally.
Yeah, so I'd say like a few things I really learned from like the couple years of experience I had in sales and like different companies. So the biggest one was like being like brutally critical about speech and like literally your voice, the words that come out of your mouth. I had this like mentor, he was just like a manager at the time, and he did this like extremely painful thing where I would go through a week of calls. They would all be automatically recorded with the software that I was doing. And then end of the week, you'd play them back with him, like watching you play. Like I would hit play, I'm on a call, and I'm listening to him listen to my voice. It's already like sucks listening to your own voice. And he's just listening to it going like, no. I'm just like, oh, what am I saying? And then, so basically like the one thing I really learned from that experience is how just like passive my language was. It's like, non-committal, passive, using words like basically, like the intonation of your voice like ends at a high note at the end. You're just being like a little too dismissive. So little like little cues like that in speech, I feel like, which I'm still trying to get a lot better at. And then also just like persuasion. So I always tried to think of my role in sales as like, how can I be a consultant to this person and not a greasy salesman? Yeah. Because to me, that was always the way I tried to rationalize it, where it felt super gross to just be like, I'm calling this person trying to get money from them for this product that I don't even use or like really believe in.
Yep.
So like the way I tried to think about it is like, you know, like I was at a marketing agency for a while, like selling contracts to people. I was like, I'm not a marketing salesperson. I'm a consultant to them. I was like, I work in this industry. I know a lot about the services we sell, whether they're going to buy it or not. I just need to get on the call with them and like give them something valuable where that like they at least trust me to be an authority in the space. So like maybe they're not buying this thing, but maybe call number one is they just like got some advice from me or they got some like useful piece of information. So I was just trying to position myself as a consultant, which I thought worked out really well for me.
Mm-hmm. So it's almost like instead of being me versus you, I'm selling you. It's like, hey, there's your problem. I'm here with you. Okay, you look at it from this way. What about this way? Here's a possible solution. Because people don't like to be sold.
Totally.
And I feel that too. Like when I'm on the phone, I'm not really trying to sell it. I could care less if they buy. But what I do is like, here's your website. Cool. Do you have Microsoft Clarity? This will help you do this, this, and this. Do you have this? Do you have this? Here, get this. Here's a business plan. Take it for free. Implement it, right?
Yeah.
So it's almost like the giver's mindset.
Totally. Yeah. Giver's mind. Yeah. You're on the same side as them. Also, like what I would go so far as to like give other alternatives aside from what I'm selling to like really get their trust.
That's a big one. Big one.
Where I would literally like when I was at this marketing agency, it would be like, all right, well, like, admittedly, like you guys are super early. Like, I don't think you guys can spend like $10,000 a month on ads right now. Like, I know this other company here where you can spend like $2,000, probably get like really good results, scale up, and then maybe you can use us if you want. Or like, you know, now I said like just like a landing page design company. It's like we're a little out of budget, and like honestly, like I wouldn't even recommend spending your money with us right now. Like, here's this other tool you can use a lot quicker. And people are just like, oh shit, like it's not trying to like
they'll trust
get
you
my
more.
money out of me. And then like 2 months later, it's like, yeah, like I want to buy whatever.
That's so true, because even for me, I'll go like, oh, hey, by the way, like even any sale, I'm like, hey, by the way, I would love here's our competitors. Here's their phone numbers. Go ahead, please call them. Please get your quotes. I want you to have a fair opinion. I know we're the best because I'm the best, and I know I'm the best because here's the things, right?
Wow.
Even if honestly maybe they are better, not better, but like maybe if they have something, just the act of saying that, be like, okay, he's good.
Totally, yeah.
So, but anyways, I do want them because then I want to be better. I want to be better too, right?
100%.
So take us through. I don't even ask any of these questions. I think the way it's going. So take us through when you went to LA, because I keep hearing in my echo chamber right now, it's if you want to succeed, grow, get out of your hometown.
Yeah.
Get out of your thing. But you weren't even originally from Canada. You were from the UK, right?
No, I'm not from the UK. So,
but your parents lived there.
I mean, like my sister lives there. They were like kind of bouncing around for a bit in different places. But dude, like I grew up all over the place. I was born in Toronto. And then, so my dad was this like expat worker for like larger CPG companies growing up. So we like moved around a ton because of his work. Like born in Toronto, I did like all of my elementary school in like France and Paris. And then,
wow.
Dude, I don't even know if you know this.
No, I didn't.
I was in like middle school in the Philippines.
What?
Yeah. And then, and I was like back in Toronto for high school and stuff. So I like lived most of my just life growing up outside of Canada. So it wasn't like, it never really felt like Toronto was my hometown, but it was for sure like, you know, like we talked about, there's this like very obvious linear path that you're going down being in a high school in Toronto where you're like, all right, everyone goes to Queen's Western, these same few schools. And like, I understood that I was like, that was happening to me. And just like without deliberate effort, you're going to go down that path and that's going to happen to you. So I was like, I can't really control much in my life right now. I don't have this kind of leverage to like work wherever I want, do whatever I want. I don't have any money. So I was like, what I can do is I can just change my environment and then maybe something else will happen for me.
Interesting.
So
that's a very like self-aware way to think too.
Totally.
Like,
and Yeah, 100%. I was like, what can I control? Like even that, like I couldn't really. It was like it took a lot to even move there, but
to LA, you're talking about?
Yeah, to LA. But I was just like, I remember it was like this one day I was like in Toronto and like just like you're getting like a message at like Thursday, like boys group chats going off, being like, yo, what's everyone saying tonight? Like whatever. Belfast love, and I'm like, no,
again, right?
Like I can't, like third week in a row, like what are we doing?
Yeah.
And it just like starts setting in that like it's gonna be just like the same shit forever for the rest of your life until you just do something deliberate. So I don't know why I had this like crazy affinity for like LA and West Coast life, and I'd honestly like I'd been there when I was a lot younger. I had no memory of it, but in my adult life, I'd never been there. I didn't have any friends there, like no place I was gonna potentially work. I was like, I just need to go there and I'll figure it out. I got to the point where like I had a couple years of experience under my belt working at these different sales organizations, so I I should have I could have gotten like a pretty good job moving there, but I was so desperate to go there. I was literally looking for like minimum wage, like assistant, like admin work to like go there. Yeah.
Wow. And I always assumed you found something over there. That's why you moved, but no.
No. Okay. I was literally willing to do whatever to get there. And then nothing was working out because no company, even for like minimum wage work, wanted to sponsor visas for people to go there. So, dude, I would listen to this podcast all the time. It was called Hawk Talk. I randomly found it because this guy, Eric Huberman, who runs this agency, Hawk Media, which I eventually went to work for.
Is he related to
Andrew Huberman? No, but he did do a podcast with him. But
oh, really?
Yeah. But dude, I came across this guy because he did a podcast with Gary Vee and like Grant Cardone. And I started watching all his episodes, and it was like really cool. He'd like talk about marketing and like talk about these like cool untraditional stories with interesting people. Mm-hmm. And I was just super into him. And then I started seeing his agency come up a lot, and they're doing some really cool campaigns for a bunch of these like CPG brands that you see in like Whole Foods and Erewhon and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I just like really wanted to work there at that one specific agency. So found his email, like randomly emailed him one day. Hey, love your agency, this, that. Like, I work in sales right now. Like, here are the type of people I talk to, the companies I work or I service. I was like, I'm not in marketing, but I've done all this like stuff in the past, like with personal, like, brands. Can I come work for your agency? And like, the guy I remember responded within like 7 minutes and was like, yep, here, I copied this recruiter. Like, she'll interview you tomorrow.
Damn.
And then they brought I guess he just assumed I lived in the US.
Yeah.
And so they hired me for that agency to be just like an account executive, like similar stuff I was doing before, but for this agency now. And dude, they were just like, oh, you live in Canada? Like, we don't really recruit people from Canada. I was like, oh no, I just made them seem like it was super easy for me to go there. I was like, shit, I gotta like figure something out now.
Yeah.
Because they wanted me to physically relocate to LA. And I just like got denied a couple random visas, and then eventually went there on this like temporary work visa. But yeah, I remember I like kind of emailed this guy, and like 3-4 weeks later, I was there in LA. Just kind of like very abruptly left my life here.
That's like Alex Hormozy shit right there. When he just like left his thing. That's wild, dude.
Totally, man. Yeah, no money. I was this like friend of a friend who I knew. So, like, I didn't know anyone in LA. I didn't like want to sign a lease or anything because I didn't know how long my visa would last for. I was like, I didn't want to get denied, get sent back, and have a year lease in LA.
Yeah.
So I like found a friend of a friend who, it was like these two guys from Toronto who had this house in Toronto or in LA, and they had a spare bedroom because the guy who I actually knew who lived in that house in LA, he was like in Europe doing something for work for a few months. So he was like, dude, you can just like stay in my bedroom.
Yeah.
I got there. There's like nothing. Dude, I was on like sleeping on like a mattress on the floor, like classic, for a little bit. And yeah, dude, I was just kind of like living in some like random house, didn't know the other guys, and was just like hanging.
I know when you were doing it, I know maybe to you, it's like no big, like it's kind of like it's just the way forward. But did you feel any fear when you were doing that? Did you like, what was your emotional state as you're thinking about this, or like, what was the thing that pushed you over the edge to get over there, or how were you thinking about it?
Yeah, like it was really easy to make the decision because I was like, again, like I was just like, there's just nothing for me here.
Yeah.
I was like, nothing's going on, nothing's happening. I was so like mentally set in the fact that like I just need to get out of here. Like I'd committed to that decision almost like even before I finished university. So that making the decision was super easy, and it was only excitement up until I got there. And then like the reality set in, just like I landed, I like condensed everything down to a suitcase of stuff that was my like everything I owned was in this like massive suitcase. And then I landed there and the reality set in and I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? It was like way dirtier than I thought it would be. I landed in the airport. You're dry. And it's like, I'm imagining like, like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood or like whatever, like you just like kind of like Americana LA version.
Rollerblading, Barbie Ken.
Dude, yeah. And like I'm driving from the airport. I'm like, it's disgusting. I'm like, what am I doing? And I get to this house. I pull up. The house is a little shittier than I thought it would be. Like, mattress on the floor. I'm like, what? Like I was like, what did I do? So it was rough for like the first little while. You don't think about these kind of things, but I'm like, I don't know anyone here. You're just like lonely all the time for the first little bit.
Yeah.
And just like figuring stuff out. Like, and then I got like bank accounts, like a million random things. I'm like, what have I done?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
after that, it was probably like a month or two of that. And then I started meeting people, like having fun there. And then, dude, I started like loving it. I ended up being there for like a year and a half, 2 years.
So yeah, so you're there. You don't know what the hell's going on. So what gets you through? What keeps you pushing through? What keeps you? And how did you go about meeting people? And how did you go? And what was the relationship with this Hawk Media guy? And how did that come? Because I remember you were telling me about Hawk.
Yeah, it was awesome. So I like really, really love my work. I thought it was like I cheated someone to be able to like work there. It was this awesome agency that was like one of the top agencies that worked with these like growing brands in LA at the time. So like sales was incredibly easy. It's like you email any brand, they already know who you are. Like everyone wants to talk to you. You get to work with these like really cool influencers and these like really large brands. Mm-hmm. So my work was crazy. I always say like I feel like I learned like a decade's worth of stuff at like in a year there. So work was awesome. The people I worked with were sick. Like they were all just like younger, really cool, ambitious people. The very cool thing about LA is like not a lot of people from California live there. Or like a lot of people do, but not in like central LA where I was. It's just like people who move from other parts to just like make shit happen. So there's this like really cool, ambitious, young energy over there where everyone's doing cool, interesting things. Everyone's super creative. I became so desensitized to content living there because it's like a normal thing over here. It's like your buddies are like making fun of you in a group chat if you're like posting TikToks and stuff. But over there, it's like, one friend I had was just like a coffee connoisseur on TikTok and he would just make content about that. Another guy would just make videos about him making furniture. And like content was just, and media was just such a like foundational part of what LA and what California was. Like that became super interesting. And like, I was like, oh, like I always thought I could do this, but I never wanted to, but now I'm in this environment where it's easy to. So that was a big thing that came out of being in LA. But yeah, like the people I met just kind of came from like, I really wanted to network in like the brand CPG, like software SaaS world.
Yep.
So I would just we don't really have the luxury of doing that in Toronto. Like the events here are kind of whack, but in LA, it's like really, really cool events, like 3-4 times a week. Like every weekend, there's these like really cool parties with like brands and founders and stuff like that. So I would go to those. And a lot of the early friends I had in LA were just people from that community, younger people who were joining agencies and brands and like the software world. And then, things just kind of like compounded and I had like a cool circle of people. Like I was really like establishing myself well in this company I worked for, had some really great clients and was like learning a ton.
So I think what's really cool about that is you had the foresight to know, hey, like I'm in Toronto, like you had the foresight to know to change your environment instead of fighting through your will to change your actions, your behaviors, the people you hang out with. Because like I agree, like it's hard over here. Mm-hmm. It's hard over here because there's not many people in this space. There is because I'm finding at networking and events and I'm finding that. But so do you think how was your emotional state when you went over there? Like were you kind of carried up in this wave of enthusiasm and this wave of people are doing stuff. I should do stuff. So you're kind of like rode on that coattail. So it's almost like the environment influences you regardless, but you can have the foresight to pick the environment to make things easier.
Totally. Yeah. I was inspired and motivated the whole time I was there. I'd never met people like that my age ever in the world.
Yeah.
Like, until being in LA. Like, you know, there's a lot of these like successful people I met. Like my dad had some friends that were like super successful and be like, oh shit, like, you know, this guy who runs this awesome company. But like, I just never thought a 21-year-old could be like doing cool, amazing. It's like you hear these like crazy stories online on YouTube and stuff, but you just like don't think there's people like that out there in the world just like making stuff happen at a young age.
In real life, yeah.
I remember it was like one of the first few weekends I got to LA, and this guy who I knew brought me to this party, and just like the people I met, it was like a 21-year-old guy who owned like a coffee shop and a juice bar in LA.
21-year-old?
Yeah.
Jeez.
And then like this other 25-year-old guy who had his own like marketing agency who was crushing it. So I was like, you don't have to just like, you know, wait around for a couple decades until you can do cool, interesting stuff. And like, you don't need to ask for permission to do cool and interesting stuff. You can just like have an idea. And LA was a city that just kind of like, it was just like a permissionless environment. Like you could just do something and figure out how to do it. And it was also like being in an environment like that, which we don't really have over here in Toronto, is like you can accidentally stumble into like crazy scenarios, which just can't happen here. It's like I'd go to the gym and I went to the gym one day and I met this guy who was just like an exec at Snapchat. And like we would just kind of like talk in the sauna over there. And then he'd invite me to these like poker games that he would host. And I like met a bunch of his like buddies who were like in the like software world and like, you know, at these like big tech companies. And like you can't do that over here.
No.
So there was like a million different environments like that where I was like, I'm accidentally meeting people and I'm accidentally stumbling into these scenarios, and like random people I meet here are just like, yo, you want to like help me with sales for this agency I'm running? And like you're getting job offers and like people are like, let's collab on that. It's like a very collaborative culture. Obviously, like, you know, like most cities, it had a bunch of issues at the time I was in there, like 2020 to 2022. But for the most part, I was just like insanely inspired the whole time I was there.
Yeah, man. You're telling me like one day you're at a party, then that night you're on some yacht, like randomly.
All the time.
It's like,
yeah.
So I think I gotta go there. Cause like I'm seeing a lot of success here in the way that I'm doing. And I can't imagine like if I'm just me over there too, like same kind of thing. So very interesting. So what made you come back?
Yeah. So I ended up working it was this company, Jack Health, telemedicine company. They were my clients. So I was doing some like affiliate strategy work for them while I was at Hawk. And I was kind of like, I reached the 1-year mark at my time at Hawk. And I was like, I was doing a couple different things. It was a sales piece. I was doing some like strategy consulting stuff.
Yep.
And I was like, all right, what do I want to keep doing here? At that point, I sort of felt like I squeezed all the possible juice I could in terms of learning. Like I had a really awesome manager at Hawk that kind of like allowed me to learn a bunch of different stuff, even if it didn't really like directly tie to my job. Mm-hmm. But I kind of felt like I reached a point where I was like, I learned everything I was going to learn. And I like don't care about the money or anything else that I'm getting out of here. Yeah. I just like want something else. So I was like kind of thinking about next moves there. And a really classic agency route is you just like kind of bounce around to different agencies and maybe work with other clients and maybe try to get like bigger commissions and bigger pay. Or I was like, now I kind of have this like foundational leverage of marketing and I'm at this like really astute agency that people respect. Maybe I can then like get really good at growth marketing. So I was like, you know, being in the agency world, you start feeling like a huge poser because you're just giving people advice all the time. And like, yeah, you're learning from this really amazing tried and true playbook that's like help scale these massive brands, whatever the spiel is.
But you've never like done it yourself.
I've never done it myself and I truly don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know, I could keep doing this agency thing, but I kind of just want to like figure out if I know what I'm talking about. And you know, and like honestly, like I said, I was doing like a lot of this drop shipping stuff back in the day, and you know, I always wanted to do like cool creative stuff. So I was like, I'm just gonna take like a little bit of a different route and start working for an actual brand and go a lot deeper. So I started reaching out to like every cool brand that I had in my like, if there was like 50 clients that I had at that time at Hawk, I reached out to like 20 of them that I thought were really cool. And I was like, whatever. I've been kind of consulting you on strategy and growth for the past year. Like any space for me to come work there with you. So this one brand, Jack Health, that just happened to be based in Toronto. Most of my clients are based in the US. They were like, yeah, we're actually hiring a head of marketing right now. And I was just kind of expecting, go like as a marketing manager somewhere, like manage their funnel, do some like kind of admin stuff and learn from someone. They were like, we need someone to kind of be like a head of marketing, run everything, run the funnel analytics, like kind of just like steer this business. Like marketing's the major, it was like an e-commerce business, like marketing's like the major function of the business. At that time, it was like kind of like the fifth, like executive level employee or whatever. And I was like, yeah, no, I can do that.
Why not?
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah. I was
just like, and what were you feeling at the time? Were you like, obviously I'm going to say yes, but how are you feeling internally at the time?
I've weirdly never had imposter syndrome. Like really? I've had the opposite of it. Just like delusion where I'm just like, yeah, I can figure this out. Like, and it's just like always served me pretty well. Cause like it's the reality. It's like, I knew I was going to get there and like, I'll figure it out. It's either that, it's like, I'll figure it out or I'll get fired. So it's fine.
It's not that bad. Not my money. It's not my
now I'm
dollar.
back to where I started.
Yeah. That's so true. I never really thought I had imposter syndrome either. I just kind of did shit.
Yeah.
And then whatever, so that's interesting. So, okay. So you're at Jack Health. Mm-hmm. So we're kind of starting to see your perspective shape and your evolve. So it seems to me like you've always had this like entrepreneurial spirit because there was no option for you. There's no 9 to 5 for you, right? So fast forward to Jack Health, and then where does the content side and Lucky Lad fall into this?
Totally, yeah. So I was working at Jack Health. I'd moved back to Toronto.
And if you want to also describe to people what Lucky Lad is specifically, what it is after, yeah.
I wanted to keep staying in LA. Long story short, I was like living at this, like I got this new lease in LA at the time, and I stopped working at Hawk Media, was working at Jack Health, just started there. Dude, like 5 days later, I start getting calls from US immigration being like, yep, we know that you stopped working at Hawk, your temporary work visa was tied to your employment there. So you kind of have to like wrap up in 6 weeks and get out of here essentially.
Oh God.
So I was like, oh shit. So that kind of like forced me back to go to Toronto. I didn't want to go back. I like had to go back to Toronto in like 2022, like early in the year. Moved back, kind of was like super deep into this role. And right when I got back, I was like, there's a job. I'm learning a lot about growth. They kind of gave me free reign to just do whatever I wanted in the business, where there was a lot of people who like, it was a telehealth company, or it still is doing super well. Where they basically like leverage this whole like pharmacy network that they have in Toronto, and they fulfill these like prescription based products through e-com. So you can like go online and like buy prescription hair loss medication that like otherwise you'd need to go to a pharmacy and it would be like an awkward experience. You just like do a virtual consultation, buy it online.
Yeah.
So anyways, there was like a bunch of people who manage the pharmacy function of the business. There was like, tech guys who kind of manage like the e-com ops and stuff. And then like essentially for marketing and growth, there was like a couple agencies, but they let me just like do everything. And if I wanted to be like, I feel like the thing that I was really good at coming from the agency world was I was really good at just like auditing a business. Mm-hmm. And just like I had this like breadth of experience because like I would help people with affiliate, with paid ads, with SEO, with like funnels. So I just like was able to kind of look and be like, all right, like, and I had like hundreds of data points from other businesses of like what was working, what wasn't doing well. So I was really good at like being able to come in and be like, oh yeah, you're not like doing enough on email right now. You should be getting 40% of your revenue on email, but you're not. And then I was able to be like, oh yeah, you're like CAC's way too high on Google. Maybe we should like switch some things up on Google to like optimize that. So early in my role, I was super good at that kind of stuff. And they kind of let me do that, like bounce around from channel to channel, part of the business, just kind of like setting up a system, building it, moving on. And I was having a lot of fun doing that, getting super, super deep and like learning how to like run a channel on my own and like hiring people to help me. And it was all just like stuff I just had no business doing. And they just kind of allowed me to do that at the risk of their own dollar.
Which is interesting because like it seems like it would not have worked had it been any other way, had it been more structured.
Probably, yeah. Or it just like, it might have worked but I just like wouldn't have learned anything.
Yeah.
They just like allowed me to learn. If it took a long time, he was like patient, and like my manager was CEO at the time. Just like I had such an awesome relationship working with them. They had so much trust in me. It was sick. But anyways, like kind of in the background, I was like, I always really missed the agency world because I was having so much exposure to founders and brands, which was so cool.
Yep.
And I had so many of these founder friends, which I was like, wasn't able to meet people at that same frequency anymore. So I was like, I don't want to work at an agency, but I still want that exposure to entrepreneurs. So I was like, I can consult. I was like, I have this really cool foundation of like being at a really cool top agency and working at like a really awesome, like really fast growing healthcare brand. I can kind of consult for these like healthcare supplement brands popping up in CPG. So I started doing that. I started like consulting on stuff like email, like ads.
This is before the TikTok channel. This is just you reaching out and consulting and through your network, or how were you getting clients?
Yeah. So I started the TikTok to get clients for that. So I set that up, this kind of like consulting veil. I put it under the name Sublime. And
that's right. Yeah. I remember that now.
Yeah. And like, dude, so I remember this was like the latter part of me being at Hawk. I was always like killing myself, like messaging people constantly, like harassing people to try to get clients. And I had this one friend at a different agency, and his name was Jared. And he would post a TikTok a day. And I remember people were begging to work with this guy. He would just kind of post a TikTok. He would like talk about cool businesses and brands. And like, he only had 1,000 followers. And he was getting like way more clients than me. So I was like...
Oh, with 1,000 followers?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was like, if I were to ever do it again, I'd do it the Jared way. So I got back to Toronto. Again, like I said, I was super desensitized to just like making videos at that point because it was like everyone around me was doing it in LA. I'd just gotten back to Toronto.
Oh, so there was no like internal friction, because I think a lot of people here, me, not so much me, but a lot of people here, I think also like, there was that aspect of, oh, what are people going to think? I'm going to start putting this out there, all that. So you just like didn't even have that. That was solved for you.
I definitely had it. I was a little numb to it because I had so many friends who were in that space and who were posting videos where I was like, I had as many friends from LA as I had from Toronto who kind of, I was like scared to like post for. Understood. That I was like, it kind of balanced out. And in the beginning, you know, when you're posting, you're kind of just like yelling into the void and you just like don't really assume anyone's really listening to it. So it's not scary. It's like posting something on your Instagram story and like, yeah, whatever, 40 people saw it, who cares? So it wasn't that hard to do starting out. I would make these like really horrible videos, like 3 things you need to know about SEO. Like no one cares. No one goes on TikTok to like get yelled at like that.
Yeah. He taught me a lot of what I know about my TikTok because he helped me start my TikTok, but my consistency was off.
Oh yeah.
But I remember you gave me really good advice, so you knew your shit.
Yeah, thank you. I really liked your TikToks, your life advice and stuff. But anyways, yeah. So I post these TikToks and like I kind of got the same effect as Jared, where like couple thousand followers and these like really really cool brands that I just like knew already at the time DMing me being like, hey, what's your hourly rate? We want to like pay you to get your thoughts on like a funnel we're about to build. And I'm like, oh shit. Like I'm having to like make up an hourly rate now. I'm like, yeah, no, I have an hourly rate. And then everything I like had no structure to this thing. I would consult, but someone would ask me to do something and I'd be like, yeah, that's actually exactly what I do. They're like, do you build out email flows by any chance? Well, you know what? Yeah, like it's not on the website quite yet because like we're about to launch it next week.
Of course. Yeah, I'm always about to launch it.
Yeah.
Something's in the works right now. Yeah.
That's actually my bread and butter. Like everything anyone said was my bread and butter.
Exactly.
So I just started doing all these like makeshift things. I'd be making emails for people. I'd be running SMS campaigns. I'd be like helping them like manage ads. So I was doing like 10 different things. And it was honestly like getting like pretty distracting from like my 9-to-5 job, which I was like getting paid to do. But
were you making more money from this, or was it like just more fun?
Not at this point. It always got to the point where I thought I could like the agency stuff, like my freelance stuff was always getting to a certain point that I'd have to like push it back to like, my rule is always like, it needs to only be 10 hours a week or it's going to be too distracting from this like amazing opportunity that I shouldn't have.
Yeah.
So So I always like, it got to a certain point, I'd cut clients and I'd scale back. It would get to a certain point, I'd cut clients and I'd scale back. But like the TikTok was always really fun to do. And I really found I started doing this thing on TikTok where, and this is where like stuff started like kind of blowing up a little bit and the account got bigger, was I started talking about celebrity brands.
Which I remember this too.
And it was such a good format for TikTok because someone who doesn't like give a shit about marketing can consume that kind of content because it's like,
it's about the celebrity.
Yeah.
Which is actually in that book you see right behind you, $100 Million Leads. Alex Hormozi says the hook, one of the key hooks is using like relevancy or celebrities. Because no, like if I'm eating cereal, don't give us a fuck that I'm eating cereal, except you will one day. I promise you right now.
Yeah, you're going to know.
You're going to know what cereal I mean. Don't you know? Yeah. You're going to know things that I'm into. But then if Jeff Bezos is eating cereal, all of a sudden it matters.
Oh, yeah.
So you started. So did you.
Bezos Flakes.
Beflix?
Yeah.
It's actually not Jeff Bezos. It's just, he goes by Bezos.
Yeah.
Jeff Bezos now.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you're doing that, you're doing a celebrity. Was this a conscious choice to focus on celebrities, or were you just testing everything out, seeing what landed?
I was testing a lot of different formats. So like in the beginning, it was very like how to, like I'm trying to get these like tactical marketing things out there. No one cared. I was trying to think, it's like, how do I post videos that cast a wide enough net that someone who doesn't care about CPG or marketing or D2C can consume it? Because ultimately I was like, I don't really want these like 10,000 nerds who are in CPG to watch I was like, I want it to be a little bigger than that.
Yeah.
But this is like the only thing I know how to talk about with conviction. So I can't talk about anything else. So how do I just like use what I know to like try to cast as wide of a net as possible?
Yep.
So there was like the celebrity stuff that I tested. There was all sorts of stuff. There was like me just like going through like news items from like Ad Age and like marketing magazines and stuff and like talking about that. But I was testing like thousands of different formats, but eventually the celebrity one really stuck and I just went super hard on that for a few months and that grew the page to like a really good place. And yeah, I got like a bunch of really cool clients, met like a lot of really cool friends who are entrepreneurs through that. And then, yeah, just like eventually started getting like a little bit wider and wider of my content and started talking about other stuff I cared about, like my health and
day in the life.
Yeah, some life advice.
You're reviewing websites a lot. I got a lot of good tips from those too when you're like reviewing sites, seeing what does well. And just so everyone knows, the reason this podcast even exists in this current state was because of this man right here. Because he was telling me about all his different opportunities getting from building the audience. And I was like, and at first I was doing that, but then I see like you're self-aware, I'm self-aware. I just hate editing, and so that's why I do this and then outsource everything else.
Totally.
But yeah, so definitely this is his influence. So Ali, thank you very much for that.
Oh, of course, man.
So glad. You're doing that. You're growing the pages. Pages at what, like 44,000 right now?
Yeah, some 40 something thousand. Yeah. So the page was doing super well. It kind of got to this place where I was getting like these random like brand deal opportunities from TikTok that I never wanted to do. It was like, oh yeah, promote this like chatbot thing or like some crypto coin. And I was I just like never wanted to do that. It didn't make sense. And it was more so it was just like this pressure to like, I just like don't want to like have to make some video be good for some brand and like get paid a few $100 to do it. So I was thinking of different ways to monetize my page aside from like the consulting work I was doing that was ultimately taking too much time. Cause I was like, yeah, sure, I can get like 50 more clients right now. But then I'm just like, that's a new job. Like, you know, I'm like leaving my job and I'm just like working for now, like instead of one person, like 50 people.
Exactly.
And the consulting got really cumbersome in that way and annoying for me. Cause it was like, you know, you have this vision of how things can work. Like, let's say I'm consulting someone on like content and creating content. Like you can give them advice and you can like show him how to do that. I was even introducing people to like editors and people I was working with. But if it like 9 out of 10 times it's not executed properly, and then you just feel like you're giving awful advice. Mm-hmm. So I just didn't like disappointing people, and consulting just wasn't the best way for me to help people. I just like wasn't able to go deep enough. It wasn't working a lot of the times. And then oftentimes as like, you know, an honest consultant, like it's hard to just be like, as a consultant, don't pay a consultant.
Yeah.
So like it kind of felt like I was just, you know, working with small brands just felt like I was robbing them at times, and I just like really didn't like that feeling. So anyways, I kind of paused on that at a whole. I was like, if I'm not enjoying this, why am I doing it? I don't like need this money at this point. I was learning so much about natural products and supplements through working at Jack Health, and I kind of had this like really awesome playbook on marketing. And I was like always interviewing customers while I was there and finding these like really cool gaps and opportunities in like the natural health space. And I always felt like supplements had incredibly boring marketing.
Yeah.
Like if you walk down just whatever like grocery store right now, you'll see like, oh, magnesium glycinate, these like Nature's Bounty type bottles, or these like random like crazy stickers with like metallic font or whatever. And it's like D3 and like CoQ10. And like the average person just like doesn't understand what that means. It's like, yeah, sure, at this point people are getting a little bit more educated, but no one can like navigate their way through a supplement aisle. You know, they like none of the labels show you what benefit it's for. Like, oh, this is really good for like whatever nerves and anxiety or like focus.
You know, that's so true, because now that I'm walking by, like I'm thinking like what I know, maybe Kirkland or Jameson for vitamins and supplements, but very boring, very traditional. There hasn't been anything like really this generation.
Totally, yeah.
There, yeah.
So eventually I was like, okay, I kind of need to start my own product. I like have this platform where I can get a lot of really good early customers, which is TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
I have this kind of like foundation of growth knowledge from being at Jack Health, where, you know, I can like kind of hit the ground running pretty quickly. And I have access to kind of like formulate something really well. Like, you know, there was like pharmacists I knew through that. And I just kind of like learned how to develop products through being there. So I was like, I'm just going to kind of take a swing and build something on my own. I tried a few different things. So Lucky Lad is a company now, but initially I was going to try to put supplements in Keurig cups. And,
Keurig
you know, like,
cups.
like, you know, those like coffee pods. And I was like, oh, Athletic Greens is blowing up. What if you put a multivitamin in your coffee?
Oh yeah. Interesting.
But like it turned out that just like most vitamins are so acidic in their taste, and like coffee so acidic, it just tasted so gross. And then I tried to make a coffee syrup with multivitamin in it, and then I just couldn't get the like texture right. And then like no one like to kind of cut the acidity of supplements, you need it to be a citrusy flavor. I was like, no one wants to put like pineapple flavor in their coffee.
Mm-hmm.
So then eventually I was like, what am I good at? I'm good at kind of like understanding this like younger Gen Z voice.
Yep.
That's always what I was good at Hawk. I was like, I'm really able to like understand and help brands kind of like communicate to this younger Gen Z audience. I'm Gen Z, I'm 26. I was like, what are some like kind of like unique health problems that are super relevant with Gen Z? I was like surveying people, I was talking to friends, I was researching online. There were hangovers, there was gut health, there was like a few different things going on. There was sleep, like everyone's sleep sucks. So I was like, there's nothing really good out there for hangovers.
Yeah.
I was like, a lot of people are using electrolytes and like liquid IV and like Pedialyte.
Salt and water for me.
Salt and water, yeah. Like, yeah, exactly. Like minerals and stuff. And it's like, that does a little bit in the morning to like kind of help replenish your minerals and like help you feel a little bit more alert and awake. But ultimately, it doesn't do anything for your liver or your brain. So it just doesn't work. So I was like, I like to drink. I'll like kind of experiment on myself for a few months and like see what I can do. I was like researching about all these all natural ingredients like DHM and prickly
Wait.
pear.
So did you make this? You were like Walter White lab
Solo
man.
Dolo brother.
Really?
Yeah. So
I thought you hired a company to do this. No, you were out there testing stuff on yours. You're the mad scientist.
So you know what? I like started going out and finding manufacturers to make this for me because that's how I thought it worked. I was like, I thought you just go like, hey, like manufacturing
make
facility.
this. Yeah,
I want this thing for hangovers. I want it in a gummy orange flavor. Like
figure it out. Yeah.
Like make it for me now. This is like not how it works at all. Or like maybe it does if you're like paying these guys crazy amounts. But first of all, there's like not a lot of products on the market for hangovers. So like the ingredients that I was working with weren't really like off the shelf stuff that these like labs could work with.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just kind of like, okay, I have to compound this thing on my own. And then I got to bring it to someone to make and manufacture for me. So dude, I was like watching More Plates, More Dates videos, Andrew Huberman. I'm like every source possible. I'm like researching. I probably like, you know, like I read everything about hangovers and these ingredients. I like tested all these things on me, like DHM, prickly pear, B vitamins, everything, electrolytes, every single product for hangovers I bought and used at some point.
I just want to put one thing clear. This is the guy that in university self-proclaimed did nothing, didn't want to study, didn't want to do anything. But the moment something is actually interesting or fascinating, you're diving right in.
100%, man. Hours and hours and hours. And I was like, so now I use a Whoop band, but I used to have an Oura ring on my finger.
Yeah. Is that better, by the way?
I like this way better. It has way more metrics. You should definitely get it.
How much is it?
It's like weird. It's like a subscription. I think you pay like $50 a month, and they just like send you the band. But it's just like you pay for the app, the subscription.
Kind of down. That's pretty dope.
Get it. It's a game changer.
What's it called again?
Whoop.
Whoop. Can you please sponsor this?
Yeah. Sponsored by Whoop.
I'll freaking whoop you. That's what my mom's saying.
Yeah. Brand deal's done.
All right.
So anyways, I was like testing a lot of stuff on my Oura ring. So I was like, I would like go out, like black out with my friends, and then I'd be
experiment purposes.
Just a little bit of R&D. And I'm like, let me test like different doses. Like DHM's the main liver detox ingredient, but I would like test different compounds. I'd like put different pills together. I'd cut them up and like dose them differently in powders. I was really like doing this in my apartment on my own. Like
if this was like taken out of context, what you just said,
like,
this guy was
just like powders,
powders,
mixing different powders.
Beakers.
So I was experimenting with different stuff. I eventually found, and then I like eventually like kind of refined my process a little bit and was like consulting with food scientists and experts and like people who knew what they were doing. And I basically put these 3 ingredients together that were the most efficacious. So there's DHM, which is a liver detox, prickly pear, and milk thistle. So like kind of combined all these things. They like detox your liver at night to help like kind of metabolize your alcohol while you sleep. And then it just kind of like helps replenish fluid in your brain. So you kind of wake up feeling a little bit more alert, antioxidates your body. So it just kind of like works on all these different like physical symptoms of the hangover. And like when you're detoxifying your liver like that, kind of rids you of feelings of anxiety and nausea. You wake up with like the anxiety feeling.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
So it helps really, really well with that. So anyways, I got this compound together that worked. A bunch of food scientists and a bunch of doctors kind of advised me on these different dosages and pH balances. And then I went to a manufacturer to help me put it in a gummy form because I was like doing a lot of research. And I didn't actually know this coming into the business. Something like 20-something% of women can't swallow pills because something like gag reflex, or they just like can't do it. Or a lot of people are just like intimidated with pills and they just don't want to take it. Or there's just like, it's such a like gross process that it's just like too much friction. People just forget to take their vitamins.
I didn't even think about the friction of the vitamin too. So you were literally going at it. And did your time at Jack Health help you kind of in this world? Because it's like health supplement kind of deal.
It like Jack Health really forced an analytical brain onto me, which is not natural to me. Mm-hmm. Everything was super calculated while I was there. It's like you're launching a new product. It's like interview 100 customers first, like put together a report of why this thing will work, do some financial modeling of like what the market size for this thing is. It's like based on a product we've launched in the past, why would this next thing work? Or like kind of benchmark it to something else. So it's like all that stuff is actually like, why can't I just like think of something cool and do it? And it's like, no, like you have to go through this process. So it like really regimented me and like forced me to think that way, which I'm like super grateful for. But yeah, and then like the hangover thing also is really cool to me because there's so much bullshit in supplements where it's like, dude, I have like 50 supplements in my cabinet right now. Maybe some are working. I get my blood work done sometimes. It's like, I guess it's working. But I was like, if I'm going to sell something online, I'm going to put it on subscription. I want people to buy it frequently. It needs to work after the first time they take it, or else they'll never give me a second shot. So that's why this hangover thing was really, really, it's like you drink at night, you take it, you wake up, and it's like abundantly clear that it worked. It's not like, I guess I feel a little bit better, I guess. It's like, no, either you're hungover or you're not. So
I wish we had it here so we could like do a little ad for it too.
Yeah, maybe you pop up some visual of the tin or something.
Pull one up, Wajibad.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. What's his name?
Wajibad. He actually doesn't know he's going to be hired yet, but I'm probably going to hire him. So
congratulations, Wajibad.
So in case it's Bilal or someone else, sorry.
Yeah, it's always a Bilal, huh?
It's always actually I have a couple experiences with Bilals.
Couple of Bilal, some good, some bad.
Actually exactly that ratio.
Oh yeah, 50-50s with Bilals.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we'll see what happens with your editing. But anyways,
by the way, we got about like 10 minutes here. 10 more minutes.
Cool. Yeah. So anyways, like kind of formulated this product, was like doing a lot of testing. So I was like manufacturing it. It was taking forever to launch. I was promoting it a lot organically on my platform on TikTok and getting a lot of feedback. I was selling pre-orders. And yeah, eventually like it got to this space where I was like, I just got to take a swing here. It's either going to work or it's not. And I put my tail between my legs and asked for my job back. So
did you validate the product first before spending money on it? Or did you do all the work up front, but just assume there was a market for it?
Yeah. So a lot of assumptions, but also I formulated it and I made the product before I paid for my purchase order. I made a website. So I made a landing page. It's not the page I have right now, which is my full site, but I had a landing page up and I made it seem like it was a product that was available to purchase. Mm-hmm. And I would push people to this landing page for my TikTok. I'd show samples like as it's a real product. It's not like a bullshit render. And I wouldn't do like, this is a pre-order. So I'm like, that's not really like a good gauge of, because I was like, pre-order, it's like I don't think a lot of people are going to do pre-order because it's kind of this like Kickstarter mentality. It's like, am I going to ever get this product? I'm not like, I don't know this guy well enough to support his business. And I didn't want to do an email wait list because I'm like, anyone will just drop an email. That's not the same as a purchase. So what I did was I made a website with like renders of this product, making it look like you can buy it and it's like the store is available. And I was just pushing people. It's like, yeah, I've launched, like it's available to purchase. And people would purchase it. And then they'd immediately get a welcome email being like, sorry, we're out of stock right now. The product did a lot better than we expected. Not true. I hadn't even launched it.
This is like exactly Andrew Tate's Hustler University. It's exactly what he says to do.
Really?
He says exactly this. He says, don't worry about getting the product. He says, just get a landing page, get it out there. Yeah. And if you don't have it, be like, oh, sorry, we're sold out. Oh, it's been doing well as possible. We'll give you a free gift or something.
Yeah, after. That's funny. I didn't even know that. I had a friend who did this for his brand, but yeah, so you
at this point, like basically no money has been spent so far.
No money has been spent. I was, like I kind of had like a lot of resources like really cheap to me for these like guys who helped me with contract work, like building websites and stuff. So like spent like a couple grand on a website. That was it. But essentially, no, I got this page up and running and like people would buy it. I would push traffic from TikTok. People would buy it. They'd get this welcome email and like almost no one canceled their order. I would like, once these people would purchase, I'd have their email. And like, there was probably like 500-600 people who like, through like a pre-order funnel bought this product.
500-600. And you're saying that's only your only traffic source is people you're sending from your audience.
Organically from my own TikTok.
Jesus.
And
that's wild.
Yeah. And then now I have all these people's email and, they're all cool to kind of like wait until I ship this product out. And they're like, it's people who've been following me for a year at this point. They know me. It's like, they're a little bit more understanding to it.
Bro, I might as well do the same thing. I'll give you my hat. I'll give you a commission. Just do the same thing.
Yeah.
Because I have 900 of them, these things.
Yeah. And dude, so then I start like sending these people my Calendly link being like, I'm trying to launch this business. I just want some feedback. Can I like talk to you about this? And I'd schedule calls with all these people. Like,
so you did interviews with the customers.
Interviewed. So if there's 500 people, I taught like maybe like 100 something were willing to talk to me. And literally, dude, there was like 3-4 weeks where I was only on calls with people. I was asking them, I'm like, how much do you drink per week? What kind of stuff are you drinking? If you're feeling effects of a hangover, what are you feeling the most? And this anxiety stuff kept coming up again and again and again. I'm always feeling nauseous and anxious in the morning. I'm always feeling nauseous and anxious in the morning.
That's exactly how I felt. Yeah.
So then nauseous, I kept tweaking the formula to play more to the anxiety. And then I made the anxiety stuff front and center on the site. I was using a lot of that feedback to kind of inform. I'd like tweak my formula. And then I was like, okay, this thing works. Like, I think people are really going to want it. And then boom, paid for it. And then that's when I really started spending money. But yeah, I did a lot of validating super early.
That's so great. Like that, because that's actually what I did for my hat too. But I did it. I should have done it. See, I didn't take the time to build the audience first to get the traffic to the site. I ran ads, and then from there I interviewed the people, and then it was so much product. It was so much manufacturing. My God, I still have to do this. Yeah. But so that's really fascinating. I really like that. So where are we right now with Lucky Lad? Where is Lucky Lad in its is it available?
Kind of, yeah. So with Lucky Lad, I was doing these really small batch order runs and like fulfilling them with one manufacturer. So I fulfilled a few hundred orders. And then, now I'm just relaunching in January with way more inventory. And right now the site's locked, so you can't buy anything. I don't know when you're going to drop this, but January 1st, the site's going to be open again and you can purchase. But yeah, things are moving. Gonna have like a really steady stream of inventory now. I finally feel like I know what I'm doing with this thing, and it's in a really good space. So, dude, gonna try to blow this thing up in the new year.
And so, what's like some of your goals for the new year, whether they're personal or a business? What's on the agenda for Ali?
Yeah, so so like really early on in the product, it's gonna be a lot of like organic TikTok stuff to like drive a lot of the early growth, but like very quickly I want to get on Amazon. And I have like a big advantage now at the company where like, yeah, there's some cool brands out there that like make a hangover product, but I don't think there's nothing in kind of gummy form. There's nothing with like the branding that I have that appeals to younger people. So I really think that like early on, I have like a super good shot at being kind of like the number one hangover product on Amazon.
And just give it to sororities, because if the girls get it, the guys will follow.
Totally, yeah. I'm actually like setting up some affiliate stuff with some college people, but yeah, right now it's just get the product out there, get a really good user base organically, and then blow up on Amazon. I really want to be number one product on Amazon. And then yeah, like personal goals for me, it's like I'm kind of just like thinking month by month right now. It's like not really like year goals, but yeah, just like this business, man. It's like it's felt like such a weird little like project that's like fake and made up behind my laptop, and it's finally becoming a real thing with products and a warehouse and like people helping me work on it and customers. So yeah, I just want to make this thing real, keep shipping out products, and like ultimately just like learn how to run a business.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing. Well, Ali, listen, we could talk for hours. Unfortunately, I have to go to a fight right now.
Yeah, dude, you got a fight, man.
There's like behind my alley, there's a fight going on right now. I have to go there. But no, so please let us know like a couple of things. First, we'd love to know like where can people find you? What are your socials handles? We'll put them up on the screen here. And also, what advice would you give to people maybe who are aspiring entrepreneurs or trying to get going in this kind of realm?
Yeah, so you can find me Ali.Afnan at TikTok. Usually I share everything there, kind of what's going on with the business, my personal life. DM me if you want to ask questions specifically about the brand. I respond to everything. Advice for entrepreneurs, I'd say like kind of the biggest thing that served me super well over the past couple of years is just like don't be afraid to start from scratch. I feel like a lot of people just fall into this way of like incrementalism, and they're just like, like I'm 5 steps into this thing, I got to keep it going. But like when something's not going to work, it's not going to work. Just go back, start from scratch, do it all over again. If you're at a job and you kind of got to like go backwards, start fresh at something else. If you're starting a business, it's not going to work. It's okay to waste time and money. That's actually really good advice. I never actually felt about this way, because when I quit my job, obviously my lifestyle decreased. I didn't have that money, but like I never felt it. I was just like, well, part of the goal, part of the process. Yeah. Amazing. Well, Ali, man, it's been absolute pleasure. I think this is a great episode. I think we're definitely going to have you on again to see how it's going after January. Hopefully that launches by then. This was awesome, man. Like, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. I think this is a really good episode, and our listeners going to enjoy it. All right, foot bump. All right, dude. Sweet, buddy. Thank you.
That was good, huh?
Yeah.